Hello, in this screencast-o-matic, I will be talking about Chapter 5, Race and the Struggle for Civil Rights, and I'll reflect on some salient points and include my teaching professional perspective reflection. For my salient points, I have three I'd like to cover that stood out to me most. The first is social cognition, second, cultural genocide, and third, mascots. So first, I will talk about social cognition and what that means in this context of civil rights and the race struggle in education. First, it's important to recognize this term that Pang talks about called race ambivalence, which recognizes that through race and racism, there are still forces that influence the way people think, believe, and act. And race is becoming more and more difficult to describe and define, probably because many people realize there are no biological roots for race, but people continue to use this socially constructed concept of race to categorize our differences, which is so unfortunate because at the end of the day, we're all human. But the differences in our culture, the way we think and act, can provide and enrich something more to our education. In our classrooms, it's important that we practice social cognition. This term is kind of like what it sounds. Our cognitive force, or the way we think, has to be intertwined with the way we interact with others and what we can share and give the perspective. And this perspective grows our learning, and this is intertwined with culturally relevant teaching, because when we recognize other cultures, bring them into the classroom, and show their importance, not just through, oh, I think that Mexican food is delicious, but by saying, where did the corn tortillas come from? Why is that important in the culture? Etc., etc. Another good strategy for teaching for social cognition is by putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So we need to give students the opportunity to see multiple viewpoints and show these different values and goals in different communities, and to have them be able to see these different perspectives and be able to embrace different points of views without getting upset or fearful from the unknown. Another way we can help our students build social cognition is by the social information processing, where students observe others' behaviors and interpret their actions. This practice of social cognition recognizes the importance to use culturally relevant teaching in our practice. However, cultural genocide is on the opposite end of that, and cultural genocide is exactly what it sounds like. It is the killing of culture through the dominant culture hushing what valuable perspectives other cultures can bring to the classroom. This is what we want to avoid at all costs and be cognizant of if we are teaching in a very Anglo way, and to be mindful of that. The third thing I want to talk about are these mascots down here. So when I read page 157, I thought the parallel names were really interesting to think about. So some examples given in the book are: an existing mascot name is Apache. Possible parallel names are the Germans, the Chinese, the Ethiopians, or Cubans. Another example, existing mascot, Redskins. Possible parallel, Blackskins, Whiteskins. So when we see these parallels, they are equivalent as in they're naming a type of people. However, we've come to accept these Native American names as our mascots, but we have to think why. Why is that? And it goes way back, and it's so deep seated in our culture of thinking that these people are savages and um, they fight, and those are some traits that we may want to see in our athletics of never giving up and protecting their land and their people at all costs. But if we saw like the popes or um, the White Raiders, like that would be super strange, and that's something for us to consider. Next, I want to talk about reflections in my teaching practices and implications of CRT and this chapter. What I've gained from this chapter as an educator is to always provide multiple perspectives to my students and not just present information on the surface level, but always go a bit deeper and have the students put themselves into the character's shoes or the author's shoes and try to imagine what it would be like to be this person living through history or this person writing this novel at this particular point in time. That is my biggest takeaway from this, and thank you for watching this video. That is just under 5 seconds. So I'm going to say thank you, Ginsberg, so far for all of your support, and I look forward to talking to you about my first week at Monte Vista High School. Thanks for watching. Bye.